The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead, but all I could hear was the thunder of my own heartbeat as Dr. Elias Grant's fingers brushed the hem of my shirt. His voice a low rumble that cut through the sterile air. "Breathe deep for me, Alex." In that suspended second, as his palm pressed flat against my bare skin, sliding southward with a deliberate slowness that ignited every nerve, the world narrowed to the heat of his touch, and I forgot the diagnosis I'd come for, the crumbling life I'd built, and the secret shame that had dragged me into this room. One breath and everything shattered. I was 25, adrift in the relentless drizzle of Seattle, where the coffee shops hummed with hipsters pretending their lives weren't unraveling too. My name's Alex Rivera, born to Mexican immigrant parents who fled the cartels for a shot at the American dream, only to chain themselves to factory shifts that left no room for dreams at all. I'd grown up in a cramped apartment in Capitol Hill, the kind where the walls were thin enough to hear your neighbor's arguments bleed into your own. Dad worked doubles at the Boeing plant, Mom scrubbed floors at night, both of them whispering prayers in Spanish that I'd make it out, go to college, be the one who didn't end up like them. I did, sort of. Community college for graphic design, a freelance gig that barely covered rent on my shoebox studio overlooking Puget Sound. But lately, the anxiety had clawed its way in like fog off the water, choking me at night with chest pains that felt like heart attacks. Google said panic disorder. My bank account said therapy was a luxury. So here I was, at Harborview Medical Center, referred by a free clinic that couldn't handle the escalating symptoms. The waiting room had been a purgatory of outdated magazines and coughs echoing off linoleum. I'd fidgeted with my phone, scrolling through Grindr notifications I never answered. Guys with abs and attitudes, none of whom stuck around for the mess inside my head. I wasn't out to my family, not fully. A few close friends knew, but admitting I was gay in a house where machismo hung like cigarette smoke? It was easier to bury it, let it fester with the rest of my unspoken fears. When the nurse called my name, my legs felt like lead. Dr. Grant's office was a far cry from the chaos outside. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Olympic Mountains shrouded in mist, and the desk held not just files but a worn copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, poetry in a place of prescriptions. He rose when I entered, all 6'2" of him, with a handshake that lingered a beat too long, his grip firm and warm, calluses from, what, golf? Rock climbing? His chart said 34, but he carried it like timeless confidence, the kind that made you want to confess everything just to hear his verdict. Sit, Alex. Tell me what's been going on. His voice was velvet over gravel, eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my throat dry. I spilled it all. The racing heart at 3 a.m., the sweats that soaked my sheets, the way I'd freeze mid-project, convinced I was dying. He nodded, jotting notes, his pen scratching like a secret. Then came the exam. Shirt up, stethoscope cold against my ribs. Breathe deep, he said, and I did, inhaling the faint scent of his cologne. Cedar and salt, like the Pacific after a storm. That's when it happened. His hand, gloved but somehow not impersonal, trailed down, checking for tenderness, but the pressure lingered, thumb grazing the ridge of my hip bone. Our eyes met, and in that electric pause, the air thickened with something unspoken, dangerous. Was it my imagination, the vulnerability of half-naked in a stranger's domain? Or the way his pupils dilated, just a fraction, mirroring my own frantic pulse? He pulled back, clearing his throat. Tension here could be contributing. We'll start with beta blockers and breathing exercises. But Alex, have you talked to anyone about the emotional side? I mumbled something about friends, but he saw through it, those blue eyes piercing like they could map the fault lines in my soul. You're carrying a lot, more than just physiology. He handed me his card. Not the standard one, but a personal one with his cell scrawled in sharp script. If it spikes after hours, call. No judgment. I left that office lighter, the pills rattling in my pocket like talismans, but heavier too, with the ghost of his touch branding my skin. That night, as rain lashed my window, I lay awake, replaying it. The slide of his hand, the command in his voice. My phone buzzed at midnight. A text from an unknown number. Elias here, just checking in. Breathe deep. I stared at the screen, heart slamming anew, and typed back before I could think. Can't. Too much noise. His reply came swift. Then focus on this, you're not alone. What followed was a descent into obsession, masked as therapy. Our sessions stretched from 20 minutes to an hour, the door always locked after the nurse left. He'd lean against the desk, arms crossed over that broad chest, listening as I unpacked the baggage. The coming-out fight with my sister that ended in slammed doors, the ex who ghosted me after I admitted the anxiety made me too needy. The fear that loving men meant betraying the straight-laced legacy my parents clung to. Elias shared fragments of himself. A childhood in rural Oregon, raised by a single dad who was a logger, The grind through med school on scholarships. The divorce from his college sweetheart who'd realized she preferred women. I get the hiding, he said once, voice rough. I did it too, until I couldn't breathe anymore. But it was the touches that unraveled me. A hand on my knee during a panic simulation, steadying me through the spins. Fingers tracing my wrist to check my pulse, lingering until it raced under his thumb. Each time, the room shrank, the city outside fading to a distant hum. One afternoon, as thunder rolled in from the sound, I confessed the real hook. That first day, your hand. It wasn't just the exam, was it? He froze, jaw tightening, then stepped closer. The space between us charged like the storm brewing. No, he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing my lower lip, and I leaned in, crashing against him like waves on jagged rocks. The kiss was fire, desperate, devouring. His stubble scraping my skin as tongues met in a tangle of need. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the weight of ethics crashing down. This can't happen, he murmured, even as his arms banded around me. I'm your doctor. Then be my everything else, I begged, and he did, for stolen moments in that room, where prescriptions mingled with promises. But secrets in Seattle don't stay buried long. My freelance boss noticed my distraction, docking pay for late designs. Mom called, her voice laced with worry over my sickness, probing if I'd found a nice girl yet. I dodged, guilt twisting like a knife. And Elias? His shifts pulled him away, but the texts evolved. Miss your laugh. Thinking of that dimple when you smiled. Fueling nights where I'd touch myself to the memory of his hands, whispering his name into the dark. 2 weeks in, the gay can hit. A colleague of his, Dr. Ramirez, cornered me in the hall after a session, her eyes sharp as scalpels. Be careful, Alex. Elias has a reputation, brilliant, but he bends rules. Last resident who got too close ended up transferred to Spokane. Her words landed like ice water, but worse was the doubt they sowed. Was I just another patient in his pattern? Or the one who made him forget his oath? That night, I confronted him in the parking garage, rain sheeting down as I paced beside his black SUV. Is this real? Or am I your midlife crisis? He yanked me under the awning, pinning me against the wall, rain dripping from his hair. You're the crisis I never saw coming, he growled, kissing me fierce enough to bruise. I swore an oath to heal, not to hurt. But God, Alex, you make me want to break every rule for one more breath with you. We tumbled into his car, fogging the windows with urgency, hands exploring what words couldn't. His body was a revelation, scarred from a childhood accident, muscles honed from trail runs in the Cascades. I traced the lines, memorizing him as he did me, murmurs of mine, lost in the downpour. It was messy, passionate, the kind of sex that binds souls before hearts catch up. Afterward, curled in the back seat, he confessed the divorce scar. She left because I couldn't love her fully. I was hiding who I was, even from myself. Tears stung my eyes. Then don't hide from me. We vowed discretion, separate entrances, coded texts, but fate, that cruel playwright, had other acts. The kitchen escalated when my anxiety spiked into a full-blown attack during a client pitch downtown. Vision blurring, chest caving, I bolted to Harborview, bursting into Elias's office mid-consult. Patients stared. Nurses whispered. He dismissed his chart, pulling me into an empty room, but not before his boss, Dr. Hale, caught the tail end. Grant, a word. The man barked, his face thunderous. I overheard fragments through the door, ethics board, boundary violations, potential suspension. Elias's voice stayed steady, but I heard the crack. When he emerged, his eyes were stormy. We need to pause this. For your care. The words gutted me. Pause? Or end? He couldn't answer, just held me until the sobs subsided, then walked me to my car like a ghost. Days blurred into a haze of pills and isolation. I ghosted friends, sketched half-finished designs of entangled bodies that looked too much like us. Mom showed up unannounced, her rosary beads clicking as she fussed over my pale face. Me, Joe, what's eating you? I almost told her, about the panic, the man, the love that felt like drowning. Instead, I hugged her tight, inhaling her lavender soap, and lied. Just work. Elias's text stopped cold, replaced by a formal email. Transferring your care to Dr. Patel. Wishing you well. It was a blade to the gut, sharper than any rejection. I drove to his apartment in Queen and, the one he'd mentioned offhand, pounding on the door until he opened it, shirtless and wrecked. You can't just vanish, I choked out. He pulled me inside, the space a mirror of him. Bookshelves groaning with medical tomes and queer lit, a guitar in the corner. I have to. Hale's filing a report. If it goes further, I lose everything, license, career. His hands shook as he touched my face. But losing you? That's already killing me. We collapsed onto his couch, clinging like survivors, the city lights twinkling indifferently below. Fight for us, I whispered. He nodded, fierce. I will, but you have to breathe through this, Alex. For me. The investigation dragged, weeks of depositions and sidelong glares at the hospital. Elias lawyered up, arguing consent and no exploitation. I backed him, signing affidavits that laid bare our connection, risking my own privacy. Mom found out piecemeal, from a tearful call where I finally cracked, I'm gay, Mama, and I'm in love with him. Silence. Then her sob, oh, Mijo, why didn't you say? We love you, always. Dad's gruff, get home safe followed. A bridge mending. Meanwhile, the romance simmered underground. Stolen weekends in a cabin near Snoqualmie Pass, where we'd hike until exhausted, then make love by the fire, his body a sanctuary. He'd trace my tattoos, a phoenix on my ribs for rebirth, and murmur poetry, Whitman's words weaving us tighter. I celebrate myself and sing it. He'd quote, lips on my skin. But the gay can loomed. Anonymous tips to the board, whispers of Elias's predatory pattern, from jealous colleagues. One night, Hale confronted him in the lounge. You're throwing away your career for a fling? He's half your age, unstable. Elias's fist clenched, but he held. It's not a fling. It's the first real thing I've felt. The climax crashed during a board hearing, sterile room thick with suits and scrutiny. I testified last, voice steady despite the tremor. He saved me. Not just my body, but my soul. In a world that told me to hide, he showed me how to breathe. Gasps rippled. Elias's eyes across the table brimmed with pride and pain. They deliberated for hours. When the door opened, Hale's face was grim. Reprimand. 6 months probation. No solo consults with patients. Relief flooded us, but Elias pulled me aside after voice breaking. I can't keep you in shadows. If we do this, it's all in public proud. I kissed him there in the emptying hall, ethics be damned. Then let's burn bright. The aftermath was a whirlwind of reinvention. Elias took leave, we road-tripped the coast. Big Sur's cliffs mirroring our highs and lows. I came out fully, family barbecue in the backyard where Dad clapped my shoulder. As long as he treats you right. Friends toasted us at a pride after-party, rainbow flags snapping in the breeze. But the true test came months later, when my anxiety flared again. Not from fear, but growth. Elias held me through it, hand on my chest. Breathe deep, love. We've got this. In his arms, I forgot the old fractures, emerging whole. We built a life, his practice reformed, my designs blooming into a studio. Seattle's rains washed away the doubts, leaving sunbreaks of joy. And every exam, every touch, reminded me, love isn't a cure-all, but damn if it doesn't make the breathing easier. In the end, it wasn't about forgetting everything. It was about remembering what mattered, one deep breath at a time. The probation hung over us like a storm cloud refusing to break, Elias navigating it with the same precision he brought to surgery. Measured steps, no risks. But I was the wild card, 25 and buzzing with the recklessness of new love, pushing boundaries he couldn't afford to cross. We'd sneak into his office after hours, the lock clicking like a heartbeat. But each time, his eyes darted to the door, guilt etching lines around his mouth. This isn't sustainable, he'd say, even as he pulled me close, his kisses tasting of restraint and regret. I threw myself into work to cope, pitching bold concepts to clients. A series of murals for a queer youth center in the Central District, vibrant strokes of bodies intertwined against urban grit. It was cathartic, painting what we couldn't shout from rooftops. But the anxiety lurked, a shadow twin, striking during a midnight brainstorm when the walls closed in, breath hitching like a broken engine. I texted Elias. Need you. Now. He arrived at my studio in sweatpants and a hoodie, hair tousled from a nap, carrying takeout pho that steamed up the windows. We ate cross-legged on the floor, chopsticks clacking, his foot hooked around my ankle. Talk to me, he urged, and I did. About the fear that our love was a house of cards, one whistleblower away from collapse. He set his bowl aside, drawing me into his lap, hands splaying across my back. We're concrete now, Alex. Solid. His fingers dipped under my shirt, tracing the phoenix tattoo, igniting that familiar fire. We made love slow and deliberate on the drop cloth amid paint splatters, his body arching under mine, whispers of stay mingling with moans. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of turpentine and him, he confessed, probation ends in 3 months. Then we go public. Dinner with your folks, maybe? The idea thrilled and terrified. Mom had warmed to the news, texting recipes for your doctor friend. But Dad? His silence spoke volumes. Still, I nodded, heart swelling. Deal. But life, that relentless editor, inserted plot twists. Elias's ex, Lena, resurfaced. A fiery journalist with a byline in The Stranger, the city's alt weekly. She'd heard whispers through hospital grapevines and cornered him at a fundraiser for Seattle Children's. I found out via a voicemail he left in a panic. She knows Alex, about us. Says she'll run a piece if I don't give her the exclusive on my redemption. Jealousy spiked hot in my chest. Not of their history, but the threat she posed. Lena was sharp, unapologetic, the kind of woman who'd outed her own bisexuality in a viral op-ed. We met her at a neutral coffee shop in Fremont, under the watchful eye of the giant concrete troll. She slid into the booth, red hair cascading, notebook at the ready. So, the straight-laced surgeon goes rogue for a patient. Romantic or reckless? Elias bristled, but I jumped in. It's neither. It's real. I laid it out, the healing, the humanity, while she scribbled, eyes gleaming. Fine, she conceded finally, snapping her notebook shut. Off the record, for old time's sake. But Elias, don't fuck this up. He deserves the fairy tale. Her blessing lingered like perfume, easing the knot in my gut. But the encounter stirred old insecurities. That night, as Elias and I walked the locks at Ballard, ships groaning past, I voiced it. Do you miss her? The ease of straight passing. He stopped, turning me to face him, the water lapping dark and deep. Lena was safe. You're the storm I crave. He kissed me there, public and unashamed, a bald eagle wheeling overhead as if blessing the audacity. The gaycan amped when Hale, still smarting from the hearing, assigned Elias to a high-stakes case. A young trans kid from Tacoma with complications post-surgery. Elias poured himself into it, late nights poring over charts, coming home to our shared sublet exhausted but alive. I supported from the sidelines, designing awareness posters for the clinic, but resentment brewed. You're married to the job again, I snapped one evening, slamming cabinets in the kitchenette. He rubbed his temples, voice weary. This kid's life hangs on it, Alex, like yours did. The words stung, a reminder of our origins. Guilt crashed over me. I apologized with takeout and a massage, hands kneading knots from his shoulders until he flipped me beneath him, reclaiming the night with urgent thrusts that blurred apologies into ecstasy. Yet the case drew scrutiny, activists picketing the hospital over gatekeeping care, Hale using it to undermine Elias's probation. A bomb threat evacuated the wing one frantic afternoon. I raced from a meeting, finding Elias shielding the kid, Jamal, in a stairwell. Go home, he mouthed as cops swarmed. But I stayed, holding Jamal's hand, 14, fierce-eyed, with a fade haircut and dreams of Broadway, whispering, You're brave as hell, kid. The threat was a hoax, but it bonded us. Jamal's parents thanked Elias with tears, inviting us to a backyard barbecue in their modest Rainier Valley home. There, amid jerk chicken and reggae beats, I saw Elias unfiltered, laughing with dads over Mariners scores, braiding a little sister's hair with clumsy fingers. My heart ached with love, fierce and full. Back home, sated and sleepy, I traced his jaw. Marry me, the words slipped out, half joke, half prayer. He propped on an elbow, eyes serious. When probation lifts. Yes. But fate loves a gut punch. My anxiety morphed, triggered by a design rejection that echoed old failures. Dad's disappointed sighs, Mom's weary hopes. It hit during a family dinner at their place in White Center, tamales steaming on the table. Midway through Dad's story about the plant layoff, my vision tunneled, fork clattering. Elias, invited as the doctor, was across town on call. Mom fanned me with a napkin, Dad's hand heavy on my shoulder. Breathe, Iho, in and out. I did, gasping through it, their faces blurring with love. Later, Elias arrived post-shift, pulling me onto the porch swing. You handled it like a champ. His hand slid low, familiar comfort, drawing a shaky laugh. Only because I knew you'd say that. As autumn leaves turned the parks to fire, we stole moments. A hike in Discovery Park where he proposed properly. Ring simple silver etched with breathe deep. I said yes amid ferns and fog, tears salting our kiss. But whispers followed. A nurse who'd seen us at the locks filed a complaint, Hale circling like a vulture. The hearing loomed again, this time with teeth, possible revocation. Elias prepared alone, shutting me out to protect me. Isolation gnawed. I poured it into art, a mural of intertwined hands breaking chains, unveiled at the youth center to cheers. Mom beamed from the front row, Dad nodding approval. Proud of you, son. Elias showed up late, suit rumpled, eyes haunted. They want to plea, resign quietly. Devastation hit like a wave. We drove in silence to the cabin, where anger erupted. Fight! For us? For Jamal? He roared back. I am fighting. By not dragging you down. We shattered plates, screamed until hoarse, then collapsed into bed, bodies colliding in raw, reclaiming fury. Dawn found us spent, vows renewed. Together or not at all. The hearing was a battlefield. Elias testified with fire. My love doesn't diminish my duty. It enhances it. I spoke next, voice cracking. He taught me to live, not just survive. The board deliberated, tension coiling like springs. When they ruled, probation extended but license intact, relief was bittersweet. Elias emerged, scooping me into a hug that drew gasps. We're free enough, he murmured. And in that moment, with cameras flashing for the local news, we were. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, the Space Needle a frosted spire piercing gunmetal skies. Our engagement news leaked via Lena's discreet tweet, a heart emoji and a nod to second chances, sparking a flurry of support from queer communities online, but also trolls dredging Elias's past, painting him as the villain in a power-imbalanced fairy tale. I woke to notifications. Predator doc preys on vulnerable twink. Hate mail clogged my inbox, each barb a needle under my skin. Elias shielded me, deleting threads before I saw, but the damage seeped in. During a routine checkup, ironic now with another doc, I hyperventilated in the stirrups, flashing to that first touch. It's PTSD from the drama, my new therapist said, prescribing mindfulness apps I ignored. Instead, I channeled it into wedding plans, sketching invitations with swirling vines and breaths of wind, symbols of our turbulent start. Mom dove in headfirst, insisting on a fusion feast, pozole alongside clam chowder, her way of blending worlds. Dad grumbled about costs but secretly built us a headboard from reclaimed Boeing scraps, engraved with phoenixes. Elias's side was smaller. His logger dad, grizzled and gruff, flying in from Bend with a bear hug that smelled of pine. Treat him right or I'll log you, he joked, but his eyes held the weight of a man who'd lost his own love to cancer. The drama peaked at our engagement party in a Pike Place loft, fairy lights strung like stars over charcuterie and craft IPAs. Friends toasted. My artist buddy Mia with a bawdy limerick, Jamal with a dramatic, I now pronounce you hitched, but midway, Hale crashed the gate, face flushed from whiskey. Grant, you're a disgrace, he slurred, jabbing a finger. Ruining lives for your little romance. The room froze. Elias stepped forward, calm as a scalpel. Leave, Richard, before I call security. But Hale lunged, words flying like fists. You'll never work in this town again. I shoved between them, heart pounding. Get out. This is our night. Security hauled him away, but the mood soured, guests murmuring apologies as they filed out. Alone in the wreckage of streamers and spilled wine, Elias sagged against the wall. He's right. I'm toxic. I straddled him right there, hands framing his face. No, you're my anchor. Our lovemaking was defiant. Clothes shed amid confetti, reclaiming the space with gasps and grips that echoed off exposed bricks. The fallout? Hale's suspension for misconduct, a silver lining. But it hardened us, turning vulnerability to steel. We eloped to the San Juans on a whim, ferry slicing through slate waters to Orcas Island. Vows exchanged on a bluff overlooking the strait, wind whipping our suits, rings exchanged with I breathe you in. No photos, just us, and a seal clapping from the rocks below, nature's witness. Back in the city, life normalized, or tried to. Elias returned to consults, mentoring residents with renewed fire. I landed a gallery show for my mural series, Exhales, critics praising the raw eroticism of emotional release. Sales funded our first home, a fixer-upper in Georgetown, with a studio overlooking train tracks that rattled like heartbeats. But the kitsch tin wasn't done. Spring brought Jamal's crisis. Complications from a follow-up surgery, infection raging. Elias operated pro bono, hands steady for 12 hours, emerging pale but triumphant. He's stable, he announced in the waiting room, collapsing into my arms. Jamal woke quoting Hamilton, fist-bumping Elias. You're my Skylar sister, saving my shot. Gratitude swelled, but so did Elias's exhaustion. He pushed through a conference in Portland, keynoting on ethical intimacies in medicine, drawing crowds and controversy. I tagged along, rooming in a boutique hotel overlooking the Willamette. Post-speech Q&A turned hostile, a heckler accusing him of normalizing abuse. Elias dismantled it with facts and fire. Love doesn't abuse, silence does. That night, we celebrated with rooftop jazz, his hand low on my back, sliding familiar paths under the table. Back in our suite, overlooking the lit bridges, he undressed me slow, lips mapping every scar. Mine from anxiety's toll, his from life's logs. "You're my masterpiece," he breathed, entering me with a reverence that shattered stars. We moved like a symphony, peaks crashing in unison, afterglow spent whispering futures. Kids maybe, via surrogacy, a family painted in our colors. Yet doubt crept in whispers. During a rare argument, me accusing him of overworking, him snapping about my helicopter check-ins, we unearthed buried fears. "What if the board reopens?" he admitted, voice small. I held him then, the roles reversed, hand on his chest. "Breathe deep, document. We've beaten worse." Summer bloomed with pride, Seattle's streets a riot of rainbows. We marched hand in hand, Elias's dad waving a flag with bewildered pride, Mom snapping pics for the family chat. Jamal rode on a float, Crown Askew, shouting our names. The energy was electric, but a counter-protester shoved Elias, spitting slurs. I swung before thinking, fist connecting with jaw, chaos erupting. Cops intervened. No charges, but headlines screamed. Doctor's fiancé in pride brawl. The irony burned me, the vulnerable one, defending him. Elias laughed it off over beers at the alibi room. My night in scuffed Converse, but privately, he worried. "It paints you as unstable." I straddled his lap in the booth's shadow. "Let them. I'm stable in your arms." As fall hinted with crisp edges, we hosted a housewarming. Potluck in the backyard, fairy lights and fire pit crackling. Dad grilled carne asada, swapping stories with Elias's old man about Vietnam and Vietnam-era protests. Mia flirted shamelessly with a nurse. Jamal DJ'd a killer playlist. Felt like roots sinking deep, the kind that weather storms. But the ultimate gay can brood in silence. Elias's annual checkup revealed a shadow on his lung scan. A nodule, benign likely, but biopsy scheduled. He downplayed it, but I saw the fear in his averted eyes. "It's nothing," he insisted during our morning run along the Burke-Gilman Trail, leaves crunching underfoot. I stopped, hands on knees, breath ragged. "Don't lie to me. Not us." He pulled me into a hug, trail empty save for joggers distant. Scared shitless. What if? The words hung, heavy as the evergreens. We faced it together, waiting room purgatory, his hand crushing mine during the needle. Results, benign, a scar from childhood pneumonia. Relief sobbed out in the parking lot, rain mixing with tears. "See? We breathed through," I gasped. That night, we celebrated life with abandon. Dinner at Canlis, skyline glittering, then home to candles and silk sheets. His hands explored low, deliberate, drawing sighs that fogged the windows. "Forever," he vowed, sealing it deep within me. As winter loomed again, our love stood firmer, a testament to endurance. We'd forgotten nothing, only grown from the forgetting, breaths synced in eternal rhythm. The biopsy scare lingered like a bruise, tender under the surface, prompting Elias to finally slow down. Mandatory sabbatical from the board, a forced exhale. We used it to travel, a road trip down the Oregon coast, windows down, indie playlists shuffling Bon Iver and Hozier. Stops at Cannon Beach for Haystack Rocks at dawn, his head on my lap as waves crashed symphonies. "This is healing," he murmured, fingers interlacing mine over the gearshift. But drama followed like exhaust fumes. Back in Seattle, my gallery show sold out, but a rival artist accused plagiarism. Twisted vines in my work too similar to his Portland exhibit. Lawsuits loomed, whispers of stolen inspiration, tainting reviews. I spiraled, old anxiety flaring during a deposition, lawyers' questions blurring into panic. Elias fetched me from the office, driving us to Green Lake where ducks quacked indifference. "You're original, Alex. Down to your soul." His hand slid low on the bench, thumb circling, grounding me in sensation until breath evened. The claim crumbled. My sketches predated his, but the stress unearthed deeper rifts. I'd buried my family's immigration scars. Dad's deported cousin, the ICE raids that haunted holidays. "You don't get it?" I lashed during a dinner argument, plates clattering. "This life we have, it's fragile, built on papers and prayers." Elias, from his white-bread Oregon roots, listened, then shared his own. The homophobic assault in med school that left him with a chipped tooth and therapy bills. Fragile for me too, but we reinforce each other. Reconciliation came raw, in our kitchen under pendant lights. His apology whispered against my neck as clothes pooled. We fucked against the counter, urgent and unyielding. His hands gripping hips like lifelines, my nails raking his back in forgiveness. Fall deepened with commitments. We mentored Jamal through high school auditions, coaching monologues in our living room, popcorn scattering as he nailed Hamilton's My Shot. His success, callback to Seattle rep, sparked tears. Elias hugged him fierce. World's yours, kid. Mom planned the wedding obsessively. Venue a vineyard in Woodinville, vines heavy with promise. But Dad's health dipped, prostate scare mirroring Elias's. We rallied, Elias consulting off books, hands gentle on charts. Early treatable, he assured over Pozole at their house. Dad clasped his hand. Your family now, son. The emotional swell crested at Thanksgiving, our first joint. Elias's dad carved turkey with lumberjack precision. Stories flowing like gravy. Logging mishaps, lost loves. Mom's flan wobbled beside pumpkin pie. Dad toasting to breaths shared. Laughter echoed, but midway, a call shattered it. Hail. Reinstated, tipping off a blogger about our lavish life post-scandal. Post went viral. Disgrace docs taxpayer-funded romance. Hate surged. Eggs on our car. Slurs keyed into the studio door. Elias wanted to sue. I urged grace. Rise above. We countered with a joint op-ed in the Seattle Times. Love under the knife. Detailing ethics, empathy, the human heart of healing. It trended. Supporters flooding inboxes with stories of their own hidden loves. Winter's grip tightened with blizzards, stranding us homebound. Cozy nights by the fire, his hand low on my thigh, sliding under blankets to stoke inner fires. We'd read aloud, Whitman to Garcia Lorca, voices intertwining like bodies, ending in slow, worshipful sex where every touch affirmed survival. Spring thawed secrets. Lena interviewed us for a feature, her lens kind, from patient to partner, queer love in the ER. Photos captured us in the exam room. Elias's hand on my chest, stethoscope dangling. Eyes locked in eternal now. Publication day, pride flags waved early. Reactions poured. Love from allies, shade from skeptics. Jamal framed his copy. My heroes. But the gay can climaxed unexpectedly. During a hike in the Issaquah Alps, Elias collapsed, dehydration masking a migraine from stress. I carried him down, pulse racing, 911 on speaker. Our lights harsh, irony biting as colleagues swarmed. Irony of ironies, he joked weakly, my hand in his. Discharge brought clarity. Therapy for both, boundaries redrawn. We joined a queer couples group in Capitol Hill, circles of shared scars, coming out casualties, medical traumas. Stories bonded us, Elias opening about his divorce guilt, me about cultural shame. Vulnerability is our strength, the facilitator said. We left lighter, hands linked. Summer wedding approached, nerves electric. Rehearsal dinner at Matt's in the market, seafood towers and toast sloshing. Mia's maid of honor speech roasted Elias. From white coat to white knight, don't screw it up. Laughter flowed, but Dad pulled me aside, eyes misty. Your mother's right. You glow with him, like I did once, before life ground it down. Vows day dawned misty, vineyard air sweet with grapes. I waited at the altar in linen suit, phoenix cufflinks glinting, heart thundering. Elias appeared, blue eyes clear, hand extended. Words exchanged. I breathe you in, through storms and sun. Ring slid, kiss sealed under arbor, cheers erupting, family, friends, Jamal Wolf whistling. Reception danced into dusk, Bonda mixing with indie, bodies swaying. First dance to Breathe Me by Sia, his hand low on my back, world fading to us. But as cake cut, an envelope slipped under the car wiper. Anonymous threat, end it or expose the affair. Panic flickered, but Elias burned it unread. No more shadows. We drove home honeymoon bound, to Maui's shores, leaving threats to ash. There, under palm whispers, love bloomed unhindered, beach walks, hands entwined, nights of endless exploration, his touch erasing fears. Forgotten, he murmured, sliding low, making stars explode. Back, life resumed resilient. The threat, a disgruntled ex-nurse, charges filed. We thrived, Elias publishing on queer health, me exhibiting in NYC. Love's drama, just plot for our epic. Honeymoon glow faded into the grind of newlywed bliss laced with reality's grit. Maui sands clung in memory, but Seattle greeted us with a stack of bills. Wedding overspend, my studio rent hiked by gentrification's greedy hand. Elias's sabbatical ended, plunging him into backlogged cases, homecomings marked by takeout and tired kisses. Miss the island you, he'd sigh, hand sliding low in apology, drawing moans that bridged the gap. I hustled, freelancing logos for startups while prepping a solo exhibit. Vital signs, Abstracts of pulses and embraces, inspired by our saga. Critics buzzed pre-show, but imposter syndrome gnawed. Who are you to speak on love's anatomy? Therapy helped. Sessions unpacking the immigrant kid's drive to prove. Elias attending one. His vulnerability a gift. I fear failing you, like I did her. Drama stirred when Jamal's big break clashed with our anniversary. Seattle rep cast him as understudy for a queer musical, but opening night coincided with our Lake Union dinner cruise. Go, Elias urged, but guilt twisted. We compromised, dinner early, theater after. Jamal nailed it, voice soaring as we cheered from balcony. Tears pricking. Post-show cast party, he pulled us aside. Couldn't without you too. Hugs lingered, family forged. Fall's chill brought family friction. Elias's dad visited, bonding over fly fishing on the Yakima, but clashed with mine over politics. Trump-era echoes dividing the table at Thanksgiving redux. Your generation ruined it, Dad grumbled. Elias mediated, sharing med school tales of diverse patients. Borders blur in the ore. Truce brokered over pie, hands clasped under table. Mine in Elias's, steadying. The kitsch tin ignited professionally. My exhibit opening drew crowds to Fremont's gallery, but a reviewer, Hale's cousin, coincidence or conspiracy? Pandit, sentimental schlock from the scandal doctor's muse. Sales dipped, confidence cratered. I lashed at Elias. They see me as arm candy. He held space, then countered. Fight with art, not me. Inspiration struck midnight. Revising pieces with defiant strokes, veins pulsing raw. Launch 2. Sold out, applause thundering. Elias's toast. To Alex, who makes visible the invisible beats. Pride swelled, his hand low on my waist, promise of celebration home. Winter holidays amplified emotions. We hosted solstice, queer pagan twist on Christmas, Yule log crackling, friends circling with stories. Mom brought tamales, Dad a carved wooden stethoscope. Elias's dad recited logger lore. Gifts unwrapped. For me, a custom journal etched, breathe your story, reciprocated with a trail map of our future hikes, marked with us. But beneath joy, Elias's cough returned. Post-biopsy echo, docs assured, but scans scheduled. Waiting weeks stretched nerves taut. What if it's not? I whispered in bed, his hands sliding low to distract, bodies merging in desperate affirmation. Results clear, allergies to the pollen surge. Laughter bubbled, relief sex sweet and slow, breaths sinking like waves. Spring renewal. We adopted a rescue mutt, Luna, a wiry terrier with Elias's blue eyes. Walks became rituals, her leash tangling our legs as we plotted expansions. Fostering Jamal postgrad, maybe IVF talks. But gay can from past. Ex-patient sued Elias for emotional distress, dredging our early sessions. Media frenzy reignited. Headlines. Wedding vows or violation. Lawyers circled. Depositions dredging intimacies. I testified. He empowered. Never exploited. Case tossed. Frivolous but toll lingered, Elias retreating into work. Can't lose you to this, he admitted during a hike. Rainier looming. I pulled him off trail, against a cedar. Then don't. Claim us. Kisses fierce, hands roaming, reclaiming wild. Summer heatwave baked the city. Pride a sweaty triumph. Us on the float, Luna in rainbow bandana, Jamal emceeing. But post-parade, a stalker note at home. Your happiness ends. Police involved, patrols increased. Fear coiled, but we armored with love. Nights locked tight, his body shield, sliding low to whisper safety in my ear. Investigation pinned it to Hale's ally, arrested swiftly. Relief party at the vineyard, toasts to closure. To breathing free, Elias said, hand in mine. As leaves turned, we eyed expansion, buying adjacent lot for studio extension. Architect meetings buzzed, dreams solidifying. But emotional depth plumbed in therapy. Elias's fear of paternal failure, my cultural imposter. We're enough, we affirmed, breaths deep. Fall exhibit in Portland, cross-state collab drew acclaim, Elias surprising with keynote tie-in. Nightcap in hotel, overlooking bridges, proud, his hand low, journeying, ecstasy a bridge to tomorrow. Winter's hush brought quiet miracles. Luna puppied unexpectedly, litter of chaos, fostering half. Holidays with grandpups tumbling, laughter echoing. Mom cooed, Dad built pens. Elias's gift. Adoption papers started. Our family grows. New Year's Eve, fireworks over sound. We danced slow. Forgot the fears. Remember the fire. Love's drama, fuel for our flame. The puppy chaos morphed our home into a whirlwind nursery. Tiny furballs yipping underfoot as we navigated first holidays with the litter. Elias, ever the surgeon, triaged feedings with precision. But I'd catch him pausing, eyes soft on a runt nursing. Like watching life rewrite itself. We'd collapse post-bedtime. Luna snoring nearby. His hands sliding low in exhaustion's haze. Lazy touches evolving to urgent need. Bodies reminding of our core. Spring's thaw unearthed buried tensions. Adoption process stalled, background checks flagging Elias's ethics file. Bureaucracy's cold finger. They see scandal, not story. He vented over coffee. Steam rising like frustration. I countered with action. Letters from Jamal, Mom, even Lena vouching character. Weight stretched, but we filled it volunteering at the youth center. Mentoring kids like young Alex. Anxious, closeted, sketching furtive hearts. One session, a teen's breakdown mirrored mine. Love feels like a trap. Elias knelt. It's a key. Later, driving home. Tears pricked. You were that key for me. Pulled over on Aurora. We kissed fierce. Hand low on thigh, heat fogging glass. Drama escalated with a bombshell. Dad's cancer confirmed. Prostate aggressive, treatment looming. We rallied, Elias coordinating at Harborview. Hand steady on scans. We'll fight, he promised over family dinner. Mom's eyes red-rimmed. Chemo started. Dad stoic but fading. His grip on Elias's during infusions. Take care of my boy. I crumbled privately, anxiety spiking in sterile halls. Elias caught me hyperventilating in the bathroom. Breathe with me. Hand on chest, guiding inhales. Then low, grounding touch that steady pulse. Home, we grieved together. Sex a release, raw and rocking sobs mingling with sighs. Summer brought dual joys and jabs. Jamal's Broadway understudy call, NYC bound, meant tearful send-off. Us toasting at Elliott Bay bookstore. Break legs, not hearts, Elias quipped. But Pride Eve, counter-protesters clashed. A bottle shattering near our float. Shards flew. I shielded a kid, cut on arm. Elias patched in the med tent. Voice calm. Stitches and strength. Headline. Heroes of the hurt. Dr. Duo defend pride. Boosted morale, but personally, adoption denial letter arrived. Prior conduct incompatible. Devastation hit. Elias shattering a mug. They judge our love. We lawyered up. Appeal filed, but doubt festered. Therapy unpacked. His fear of unworthiness. My terror of repeating parental sacrifices. Fall's harvest moon saw counterpoint. Dad's remission scan clear. Celebration at the vineyard. Vines heavy. Wine flowing. Toasts to warriors. Elias's arm around Dad. One battle at a time. Emotional peak. Dad pulled me aside. Medal from his pocket. Vietnam honor. For you, Mijo. Bravery's in the heart. Winter deepened resolve. Appeal hearing. Boardroom tense. Our stories laid bare. Love's ethics. Healing's humanity. Granted, provisional approval. Elation erupted. Homecoming sex euphoric. His hand low. Promising futures. But gay can crested unexpectedly. During a foster placement interview, ex from my past surfaced. Tyler, the ghoster, now reformed via social media. He emailed. Saw your wedding pics. Regret everything. Coffee? Jealousy flared. I confessed to Elias over dinner. He texts. Stirring shit. Elias's jaw tightened. Block him. But Tyler persisted. Showing at the studio uninvited. Eyes pleading. I was scared of your intensity. Words twisted knife echoing my fears. I shoved him out, but seed sown. That night, confrontation with Elias. Am I too much? He pinned me to the wall. You're everything. Lovemaking reclaimed. Fierce, his dominance a bomb. Tyler's harassment escalated. Posts shading our perfect life. Tagging old mutuals. Police warning issued. But emotional toll mounted. Group therapy helped. Boundaries are breaths. We set them firm, Tyler fading to noise. Spring renewal. First foster kid placed. 6-year-old Mateo. Wide-eyed from border crossing. Clutching a stuffed jaguar. Chaos joyful, crayons on walls. Bedtime stories in Spanglish. Elias bonded over puzzles, me over drawings. Adoption fast-tracked parallel, dreams doubling. Summer road trip with Mateo. Crater Lake's blue depths mirroring hopes. Picnics, splashes. Nights intent where Elias's hand low under sleeping bags stoked quiet fires. Mateo's snores a lullaby. Fall exhibit collab with Jamal, NYC Gallery. Queer family themes. Opening night glamour, but jet lag hit Elias hard. Migraine in the green room. I held him through it. Breathe deep. Performance aced. After-party toasts. To kinships forged. Winter's hush. Mateo's adoption finalized. court tears flowing. Holiday with two families merged. Tamales and Yule logs. Dad toasting to growing tables. New Year's, under fireworks. Our breaths multiply. Dramas end, just chapters in our epic. Love the binding thread. Mateo's arrival rewove our world. Tiny hands pulling threads of routine into vibrant chaos. Mornings dawned with his giggles echoing off Georgetown walls. Elias flipping pancakes while I sketched his sleepy faces. Cherub cheeks, lashes like raven wings. Our little phoenix, Elias called him, ruffling dark curls that mirrored mine. But fatherhood's weight pressed. Sleep fractured, Elias's shifts clashing with daycare drop-offs. I'm drowning, he admitted one dawn. Hands sliding low in the shower. Water cascading as we clung. Bodies a brief harbor. Spring's bloom brought balance and barbs. Dad's checkup clear, but Mom's worry etched deeper, her calls probing. Is the boy settling? Need more hands. We visited White Center. Mateo charming with broken Spanglish. Dad's eyes twinkling. Like you at that age, Mijo. Full of fire. Barbecue smoke curled. Stories swapped. Elias fitting seamless, tossing Mateo skyward to squeals. Drama simmered in shadows. Tyler's final jab. A leaked audio from our past. My voice raw in vulnerability. Twisted as manipulation evidence. Online storm brewed. Trolls dredging wedding pics with captions. Adoptive dad or abuser? Elias shielded Mateo, but I raged. Expose the lie. We lawyered. Statement released. Past pains don't define present truths. Support surged. Queer orgs rallying. Jamal flying in for a pod save. Family fights back. Emotional release came in group. Tears for the boy I'd been. Elias's arm anchor. Home. Mateo asleep. We reclaimed. Sex slow. Reverent. His hand low tracing tattoos. Whispers of unbreakable. Summer's heat tested bonds. Mateo's tantrums peaked. Separation anxiety from border memories. Nights of screams piercing dark. Elias and I tag-teamed. Rocking him to breathe deep lullabies. Our voices duet. Breakthrough. Beach day at Alki. Waves lapping. Mateo burying toes in sand. Fear ebbing. Elias's grin. See? Tides turn. Adoption full circle. Our application approved. Surrogacy consult starting. 2 under 2? I teased. He laughed, pulling me close. Chaos with you? Yes. False palette painted resolve. My TEDx talk. Breaths of belonging. At Seattle U? Stage lights warm. Words flowing. Love isn't linear. It's the inhale after storm. Elias in front row. Mateo on his lap clapping wild. Standing ovation after party buzz. Offers. Collabs. Elias's toast. To the artist who healed me. Winter holidays amplified magic. Solstice with Fosters, now 3 house bursting. Mom's posada procession, piñata swinging. Dad's stories under lights. Elias's dad carved toys. Gruff voice cracking on carols. New Year's Eve. Kids Abed. We danced slow to jazz. His hand low. Best year yet. But ultimate gay can. Elias's routine scan flagged anomaly. Heart murmur, stress-induced. Cardiologist visit loomed. Fear's cold grip. Not again, I choked. He cupped my face. We've danced this before. Tess word, waiting agony. Mateo sensing, cuddles tripled. Results manageable meds and monitors. Relief party. Park picnic, Jamal video calling from Broadway. Cheers echoing. Our warrior heart. I kissed Elias, kids tumbling. Year's end, reflections deep. Therapy closed chapters. My imposter shed. Elias's guilt buried. Exhibit in SF. Family road tripped. Golden Gate gleaming as Mateo pointed. Bridge like us strong. Back. Life pulse steady. Luna's litter grown. Empty nest poignant. Surrogacy match found. Journey anew. Pride next year. Float kings. Mateo waving rainbow. In quiet moments, Elias's hand slides low. Breath shared. Forgot the fractures. Embrace the full. Our story. Not end, but endless inhale. Kitsch tin faded to harmony. Love's meaning etched eternal. In every deep breath, we find home.